Folk music has resonated with fans for as long as we can remember. Also known as Americana or roots music, the genre consists of bluegrass, gospel, blues, country, Appalachian folk, Cajun, and jug bands. It has also paved the way for other styles of popular genres, including rock and roll and jazz. Levitt at the Falls Executive Director Nancy Halverson is joining us in the studio to tell us more about how folk music is being featured in this weekend's Levitt in Your Living Room virtual concert. And we're also being joined by this weekend's musical guests, the members of East of Westreville, Brian and Kaya Bondi, Boyd Bristow, and Al Slothaug, who are all joining us via Zoom. They're here to tell us what we can expect when we tune into this weekend's virtual event, which sounds like it's going to be a good one.
Oh, it is. You know, these guys have been around in our community forever, and they're really leaders in our musical community, so we're delighted that they'll join us.
Now, Nancy, is there a reason why East of Westerville was your choice for the 4th of July?
Because they're just so darn cool.
Good answer.
You know, I mean, their musicianship and their kind of breadth of Americana music is really what we're about as a community, and I'm just delighted that they were available.
So Kaya and Brian, I want to ask you a little bit about what it's been like getting all of this ready for the Levitt in this age of virtual Levitt in the living room.
I'm going to let Brian answer that because he's the techno guy. So,
well, you know, the way we play is kind of unique because we normally play with one microphone and we don't have any other electronics because that's kind of the purpose of the band. But for the purpose of COVID, we needed to separate ourselves and we needed to be outside. So you're going to see one of those today. So we recorded it on our back deck with multiple microphones, which we normally don't do. But it all felt the same. It's all about the music. It's about the voices. It's about Boyd's guitar. It's about Al's bass. And it was a fun afternoon. It was noisy out there. We had to tell people to stop mowing their lawns and some other things. But it was fun. And so we did it in a COVID-safe way and had a good afternoon.
Well, I know we've already been talking about how the next time you do that, we all need some advance notice so that we can just happen to walk past your backyard and enjoy the music.
All right.
Boyd, Boyd, can I ask you why this is the genre that you guys love so much?
Well, I mean, we love the songs for one thing. They're from an old tradition, even though some of them are quite new in their approach, and they're just, you know, box guitars, you know, and a stand-up bass. You know, people have been making music like that for centuries, and so it's kind of plugging into that.
Brian and Kaya, you just mentioned the challenges with COVID and how you're doing things a little bit differently, but I have to imagine that this kind of music and the way that you are all so involved in our community, that being able to participate in the Levitt show right now means even more to you.
oh, absolutely. And when Nancy asked us, gosh, that was back in January, maybe. It was an absolute yes. We went to the Levitt shows last year. It was phenomenal. It was just astounding that this was even happening in our community. And so we were honored to be able to do it, especially on the 4th of July. But things change and life has changed for all of us. And so this is how we're doing it. And we're just glad that we get to perform for the community despite COVID. So
yeah, we feel very lucky. There's so many artists at this particular time who aren't able to perform or make a living. Exactly. I sit on the South Dakota Arts Council and Arts South Dakota, and we're doing everything we can to help those artists because they're individual business people who don't have any way to make a living. And so this is a challenging time for artists.
Al, I want to ask you what you like particularly about performing specifically on the 4th of July. Do I have Al still?
What I like about performing, well, I like playing in front of an audience, and that's kind of gone away for just about everybody. And I think we, as musicians and performers, really depend on feedback from the audience. And with this group, the feedback has been just great because we play mostly in concert venues rather than like we used to in the old days. Like Boyd and I, we played in bars, but in concert venues, we are the show, and people generally aren't conversing in the background. They're listening to us, and the feedback we get from them really kind of drives the music.
Nancy, one of the things we've talked about is that this year has been different, but great in that we get to know the musicians better.
Right.
Prepare us for next year. These guys, though, I mean, what do
we
you
know them.
Okay, and what do you have for some, what's the gossip? What's this been like for you? Give us some secrets.
Well, okay, so you want to know the dirt.
I do.
Last night we had our dry run, putting this all together for Saturday night. And this is the biggest group that we've worked with as far as number of locations, right? It was hysterical. I almost wish we could have filmed the rehearsal last night, because trying to get it all together, I mean, I was just in tears laughing. The love that these folks feel for each other, you just see it. And that's something that, yes, we see on stage all of the time, but I think you're going to get even more of that when they're in conversation on Saturday night.
I'm going to turn the tables back now, though, and say, hey, Boyd, do you have any dirt to spill on what it's like working with Nancy? Because she comes in every week with us, and I think you might have some.
If you can't find something nice to say about somebody, don't say anything about.
That's it. That's the answer. Okay. Well,
you see?
That's true.
I told you he was sassy.
Brian, where did the name East of Westreville come from?
Well, I probably should let Kaya tell you that, because it's her family name.
Okay.
My mother's name was Norma Jean Wester. She was from the town of Westreville, South Dakota, which really doesn't exist anymore. It's down by Wakanda and Vermilion and Meckling. And the idea was to form a name, have a name that evoked South Dakota and Americana and places that aren't there anymore. Because there's so many towns, rural towns that have disappeared, but those people and that music continues. And that's why we wanted to sing about those people, sing those songs, sing those old songs, and remember our ancestors and the people who've gone before us. So the name just kind of came on a whim and it had a funky ring to it. And so we called it East of Westreville.
Yeah, it's a turn of phrase. If you go down to where Westreville was and go east of there about a mile, you'll run into the Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church, and all of Kaya's family with the name Wester are buried in that cemetery east of Westerville.
How long have you guys been together?
Almost 20 years, we think.
We think. Well, that's a good relationship when you don't exactly know. Al, what's your favorite song that you guys do together that we're going to hear at this Levitt in Your Living Room concert?
That we're going to hear, I think it may be, I really like a song that Boyd wrote called I've Been Waiting. And that's one that Owen DeYoung, a great fiddler, will be doing a part on.
Well, I like that. I'm still trying to get myself into the band, but for now, until there's a spot. How about Brian and Kaya, what's your favorite piece that you're going to be doing this weekend?
Oh, for me, it would have to be Red, Red Robin, because Al's featured on that as well, and it's a really great bass part, and it's a really old, cool song, and we've been singing that for years. It's on our CD, so that's probably one of my favorites. What about you?
Well, we're going to do another one called Daniel Prayed. We do some old gospel tunes where we do very tight, close, fast harmony, and Boyd takes off on a wild lead occasionally, and I like that song a lot. I love it when we can do those tight harmony things.
And that's one we're going to actually be getting a preview of when we come back after the next break, so we're going to get to hear a little bit about that. I'm not going to leave you out, Boyd. What's your favorite song you guys are doing this weekend? Well,
one that's a lot of fun that they haven't mentioned so far is a song that was written by an old friend of ours, Dennis Westfall, Bye Bye. And we get to kind of turn loose a little bit on that one.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Nancy. We're going to be tuning into the concert this weekend, 7 o'clock on Facebook, Levitt page. I can't wait. Thank you so much. As you might expect, the situation with Levitt at the Falls is ever-changing. To keep up to date with the latest concert developments, monitor their website at levitsiouxfalls.org.